awaiting transport to Saudi Arabia. A diplomatic source said a convoy carrying some 700 United Nations, NGO and embassy staff had also driven to Port Sudan on Sunday. Hailing the success of evacuations, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said work also needs to continue towards a political end to the violence.
We cannot afford that Sudan, which is a very populated country, implodes, because it will be sending shockwaves around the whole Africa.
Sudan has now been plunged into a humanitarian crisis. Most hospitals are closed and water and electricity supplies for millions of people are curtailed. Fighter jets have bombed the capital and the main airport has become a centre of fighting, while artillery barrages have made movement unsafe in and out of one of Africa's largest cities.
Credit Suisse saw $68 billion in assets flow out the door over the first quarter, and it says the losses haven't stopped yet. The figures come just weeks after its emergency rescue by UBS, and they underscore the challenge its local rival will have in turning around the business. Clients started pulling money out of Credit Suisse after it was ensnared in the turmoil unleashed by US bank failures. The Swiss lender had already been struggling following years of scandals. On Monday, investors were divided on how to view the figures. Some called the magnitude of the outflows alarming, but shares in the bank rose close to 2% in early trade. Now UBS has to figure out what to do with its sudden acquisition. It has said Credit Suisse will continue to trade under its own name, but it's under growing pressure to spin off the bank's domestic business. It's also yet to say how many jobs will go. However, UBS executives have said they expect the takeover to generate about $8 billion in cost savings by 2027. Much of that is expected to come from reductions to headcount.
Your attention, please. Due to unforeseen circumstances, this performance of Phantasmic cannot continue. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Thank you.
Les pedimos disculpas por cualquier inconveniente y esperamos que disfruten el
The U.S. government may soon require natural gas-fired power plants to install technology to capture planet-warming carbon emissions. That's according to sources who spoke to Reuters ahead of an announcement that could come this week as part of President Joe Biden's push to decarbonize the power sector in the next 12 years. The sources said the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, is expected to unveil standards for new and existing power plants which belch roughly a quarter of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. Utility companies may need to decide whether they want to build new natural gas plants with what's known as carbon capture and storage, or CSS technology, or zero-emissions renewable energy. Biden has pledged that the power business will decarbonize by 2035. According to the Clean Air Act, the standards must be based on, quote, the best system of emission reduction, technologies deemed affordable and technically feasible. And the rule will likely be written expecting a major legal battle. Republican-led states and the energy industry will almost certainly push back. But two recent developments could bolster the EPA's expected regulations. The Supreme Court ruled last July that while the EPA could not force a system-wide shift in electric power generation, it could issue plant-specific rules. And the Inflation Reduction Act, which Biden signed into law last summer, created tax credits, making carbon capture more affordable, including more than $100 billion in clean electricity tax incentives. A narrowly written